Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. So, Xbox Game Pass. I mean, I don't even know what to say sometimes because this really is just such an amazing service. Xbox just revealed some new Game Pass games, and I just have to say, the month of July is loaded for you subscribers out there. Now, one of the reasons for that is because there's actually a few games they didn't mention as a part of this wave, because they're actually part of the second wave of July. But when you look at the totality, there's just a lot to look forward to, both in terms of known quality and also with those day one releases that we all love just so much. There are a few standouts this month that we'll take a look at today. Now, we're also going to talk about Capcom, as they just dropped an event yesterday where they gave us some new updates and some new information about some of their games. And then we'll talk about PlayStation as well, because, you know, they did make a controversial decision that has a part of their new community a little bit upset. So you know what? Let's just go and get right into the Game Pass games. Like I said, the month of July is just absolutely loaded with interesting games, and that starts off with Wave 1, which you can see here. This includes Cricket 24, Flock, Journey to the Savage Planet, Magical Delicacy, Neon White, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, The Case of Golden Idol, and then lastly, you have Chia. So that's already 8 different games, but there's actually a couple bigger day one games that we're going to talk about here in just a moment. I'll come back to that in just a second. But already, I'd say that there's a few games here that I think are absolutely worth a try, and that starts off with Neon White. Neon White is kind of a strange first-person shooter that blends a card-based system with platforming. It's an odd combination of different genres, but it works incredibly well, and it's insanely fun and addictive. You try to rush through each stage as fast as you can, and a lot of people actually consider this to be one of the best independent games around. That's how good this one is. It actually got nominated for various awards a few years back, and if you put any stock into Metacritic at all, it has an 89 overall score. So absolutely don't sleep on this game. Give it a try when it comes to Game Pass on July 11th. Now, another game that I can personally recommend myself is Journey to the Savage Planet. It doesn't have the same critical success as Neon White, but I really enjoyed it when it first came out a few years back. It's like this 3D Metroidvania type of game as you collect new abilities to help you progress throughout its world, and it's kind of goofy by nature, but if you like that type of gameplay, if you like something like Metroid Prime as one such example. Now, I'm not going to say that it's quite as good as Metroid Prime, but I do think that there's some fun to be had here in Journey to the Savage Planet, especially if you have somebody to play along with you. It actually does have a cooperative mode as well, which I think is the perfect combination for Xbox Game Pass. If you have a friend that also has Game Pass as well, then, you know, this one will be available tomorrow on July 3rd. Now, another interesting inclusion here, though, is Chia. This game actually launched on a PlayStation Plus last year as one of their day one exclusive deals. And I mean, I guess they're now just craving that Game Pass money as well, because here it is, and it'll be available on July 11th, which is actually day one for Xbox. This is the first time Xbox fans will be able to play it themselves, and a lot of people do really seem to like Chia. It's often compared to a Zelda Breath of the Wild type of game, but it also tries to do its own thing. In Chia, you can actually soul jump into different objects and animals, which can lend to some creative puzzles. Again, it will launch onto Xbox as well as Game Pass July 11th. If you want something a little bit more action-packed, though, then maybe go with Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. More or less, it's the Nickelodeon version of Smash Brothers, and the sequel was actually a big improvement over the original. It's got a large roster of different Nickelodeon characters, such as SpongeBob, you have Patrick, there's Zim, Danny Phantom, some different Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle characters, and the list just kind of goes on and on and on. So especially if you have a kid that likes these characters, this is a game that they might really enjoy, and that's just one of the reasons I like this inclusion. I also like the idea that Game Pass could give it a big boost in terms of player count. It will be available tomorrow on July 3rd. Now, there's actually 2 other games here, though, that I want to talk about that were not included as a part of this Wave 1 list. The first of which is Kunitsugami Path of Goddess. This is Capcom's brand new IP that will release day one into Game Pass on July 19th. Now, this is kind of a tough game to gauge, though, because it just looks so much different from anything else in the market. but I'd also kind of say that that's one of the reasons that it has my attention. I like it when we see something completely new, and Capcom themselves, they describe it as a unique Japanese-inspired action strategy game. Its day and night cycle is one of its main focal points, and I mean, Capcom has just been on a roll these past few years. I've mentioned this on the channel various different times, but I personally believe that they have been the best publisher, developer that we've seen probably over the last 7 or so years. They have done a phenomenal job, and I'm hopeful the Path of Goddess will continue that streak. And that right there is the beauty of something like Game Pass, because if you're a subscriber, there's no risk in trying it out yourself. You can try it out day one and see if it fits your playstyle. Then lastly here, Flintlock Siege of Dawn is also set to release on July 18th as another day one release. I mean, you just gotta love it. There's so many day one releases here, and this one seems to be on a lot of people's radar. This is more of a AAA caliber type of game, and it's actually coming from the same studio that brought us Ashen A44. Personally, I was a big fan of Ashen because I loved its atmosphere and its Souls-like gameplay. Flintlock, though, is a big departure. This is a much bigger game in scope for them, and it definitely seems to be a lot more action-driven. The only thing about this game is that I will admit that there has been some controversy with the studio this past year. So, I mean, we'll kind of see how that situation turns out. But, one way or the other, you're not going to have to wait all that long, as it will be out in just a few weeks, which includes that day one Xbox Game Pass release. There you go, though. Those are my highlights for Game Pass in the month of July, or at least the ones that we know about so far. I'd say that that's kind of the crazy part here, is because, this is just the first 19 days of July, and I'm sure that we will have a few more surprises in store. As always, though, hit that subscribe button, and I'll let you know as soon as we find out more. Okay, so let's go and talk about Capcom and their showcase from last night. There was actually 2 different things that they revealed that caught a lot of attention online. The first of which is that Capcom is now officially being open about their next completely new Resident Evil 9, or whatever they call it. Now, they didn't show any kind of gameplay or anything like that. They pretty much just confirmed that it exists, which, I mean, honestly isn't all that surprising. But if anything here, the fact that they're talking about it now could mean that they're getting close to a bigger reveal. For that matter, the way that they described it, it almost makes it sound like this will be the biggest Resident Evil game ever, which, kind of leans into the rumors that we've been hearing online. We've already heard that it might be an open world game, which, that's going to be a big departure for Resident Evil. I'm kind of curious to see how that will work out. I'm definitely not in the mindset that open world automatically means better, so I definitely need to see it first, but I am a big fan of this series, and, I hope they can execute that the right way. Hopefully, though, with them being more open about Resident Evil 9, maybe that means that they're ramping up for a more official reveal soon. I wouldn't be all that surprised if we get some kind of news within the next 12 months. Their big reveal, though, with actual gameplay was for Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, and apparently, depending on how you want to play, you won't have to wait all that long to play it yourself. The digital version is now set for September 19th. So there you go. It's only 2 months away, unless you want the physical version, which is planned for November. Yeah, for us who prefer physical, myself included here, that is a little bit annoying, and this is something that we've seen a few different times this generation. These staggered physical releases are becoming more common. But nonetheless, if anything else, I'm glad to see that it is at least getting a physical release, because I'm thrilled to see the return of Dead Rising. The remaster looks, in my opinion, amazing. It's got a big visual improvement, it's got a new lighting system, and, it has that fun, goofy core experience that it's so well known for. The original Dead Rising, in my opinion, is probably one of the better and more unique zombie games ever made, so I think it's the perfect game to bring back. I'm actually really excited about this, and I'm definitely going to get this one. More so, though, what I'm really hoping for here is that this is just the beginning of more to come. I'd like to see the Dead Rising franchise make a comeback with this remaster. I'm kind of hoping that we'll see a brand new Dead Rising after this, but let me know what you all think. Are you impressed by the Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, and do you plan to buy it this year? Also, will it be your first time playing? Because, we have to kind of remember here that this game is now 18 years old. That's hard for me to believe, and just kind of this realization that the Xbox 360 and PS3 are now considered retro platforms. That's insane to me, but whatever the case may be, it's been a long time, and it's coming to a whole new generation of gamers. Now, one last thing before I go, we got some brand new information for PlayStation's next first-party game, being Concord. This is their new live service hero shooter, and, even though it's not a free-to-play game, they did confirm that microtransactions will be exclusive to only cosmetic items. So all characters, all maps, all modes, and all seasonal content now and in the future will be included with the game once you purchase it. So it does seem like they're handling that part of the game very well, but on the other side of things, they also confirmed that on PC, PSN will be required to play the game. They said the goal was for players to come together, and so for us to have PC players and PlayStation 5 players together, for the cross-play and cross-progression to work, that's a layer that needs to be there, just on a technical level. So the goal is we want to get players together to have fun and play together. This is part of that experience. Now, I do have a few different thoughts about this situation. For me personally, I don't really mind when third parties include overlays for their games on PC. I know Ubisoft likes to do that. We've seen EA do that before. We've seen Xbox do that before. It's a common practice when it comes to PC, and yeah, it's absolutely annoying, but it doesn't necessarily really deter me from buying a game usually, unless there's a fundamental problem. When it comes to PSN though, and this is something that we've seen this year, the problem that they have is that it's not really available in a lot of countries across the world. So right away, a lot of people just can't buy this game at all unless they use some kind of workaround. When it comes to this instance, though, I don't really foresee it being a loud problem. And the reason I say that is because I don't think a lot of people are even all that interested in Concord in the first place. Based on the online reaction, if I'm being completely honest here, Concord might actually be dead on arrival. I mean, we'll see what happens. Maybe they'll prove me wrong, but if anything else, give me your prediction on this situation. Do you think Concord will be successful, or do you think it's going to be a big old flop? Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode. Do hit that subscribe button if you like this type of content, but until next time, peace out.